Hi, I'm Andrea. Welcome to this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to focus on trunk stability, that which helps us to stand tall, not just on our mat, but when we step off our mat and into our life. I'm using a yoga mat. If you have one, that's great. If you don't, a carpeted floor that isn't too slippery would be fantastic. I have a couple of blocks here. If you don't have blocks, sometimes thick books will help. And it's always great to have a chair nearby in case. I'm going to give you some chair options if that's helpful. Sometimes it's nice to have something to pad your knee with, to a blanket or a folded towel. Once you've got what you need, we'll start standing in our mountain pose, Tadasana. Let your feet be hip distance apart. Turn your palms away from each other. Gaze at the horizon. Gaze at a bright horizon. Feel your feet into the earth. All 4 points of your feet, big toe knuckle, pinky toe knuckle, 2 points at the heel. And see if we can find the majesty of our mountain in our good posture. Hips over heels. Shoulders over hips, over heels. Ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. If you turn your palms away from each other, it will help to lift your chest, your heart. Smile your collarbones open. As you stand here in your mountain, find your breath. Become aware of it. We breathe all the time or we wouldn't be here. But we often don't have much awareness around our breath. Notice an evenness of inhale and exhale. And see if you can let your breath come in through your nose, eventually even out through your nose. If it feels good to breathe out through your mouth a couple of times, or even a sigh or a sound out your mouth, explore. 3 breaths here. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, bring your hands to your thighs. With your hands on your thighs, press gently into your thighs and lengthen your spine even more as you inhale. Exhale, a little bit more fold at the hips, not rounding of the back, but fold at the hips. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape overhead. Return to your mountain, palms face out. Once more like that, a half Sun Salutation. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands come onto your thighs. Inhale, your heart forward, make yourself taller. A little bit more hinge at the hips, a tiny bit more fold. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And then stand in the majesty of your mountain. Chair pose, bend your knees, inhale, V shape overhead. It's like our mountain pose, but with a bend to our knees. Shift the weight, emphasis into your heels so your toes feel light. No scrunching of shoulders into ears. And then stand, turn the palms out, and return to your mountain. Again like that. Bend the knees, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Now this time, as you straighten your legs, bring your right knee into your chest, and then return to your chair pose. Bend the knees, arms out to the side. Stand it up. Let the left knee come into your chest. You're using trunk stability to do that. Hip distance into our chair. Inhale. We're building a little heat with our dynamic movement. Right knee into the chest. Bend your knees. Inhale to your chair. Maybe you coordinate the exhale. Left knee into the chest. One more time, chair pose. Inhale. Right knee into the chest. Pause. Feel your core, your trunk stability, holding that knee in place. You might even bring your hands to your hips. Feel the outer left hip hug in. Just a few more moments here. This time, stand it into your mountain and pause. Come back to your breath. Chair pose, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. As you stand it up, left knee into your chest, and then we pause and you can bring your hands to your hips. You can even feel the core work as your low belly lifts a bit here. Stay with it. We're working a little balance too, aren't we? And then feet hip distance, return to your mountain. Pause. Let that first little bit of practice digest for a moment. This is where you might want to use the chair, the base of the chair, or even the back of the chair. I'm going to use my 2 blocks. They're tallest level on either side of me. Bend your knees for our chair pose, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hands to thighs. Lengthen as you hinge at the hips. Inhale, lengthen even more. Now keep your chest parallel to the ground. Bring your hands to your blocks or to the base of your chair. Step your left foot back into a lunge here. It might take a moment to figure out the spacing, that's fine. And the spacing is both front and back. And also some sideways space can be helpful. So you're welcome to step the right foot to the right, the left foot to the left. Now here's where our trunk stability comes in. Your chest is parallel to the ground. You want to feel the low belly lift. So if you think about it, the front leg is kind of doing right now what it was doing when we brought our knee into our chest, standing up, but now it's weight bearing. Now I want you to be cautious with this and just see what makes sense for you. As you feel stability in your core, your hands might get a little bit lighter on the seat of your chair or a little bit lighter and hover above your blocks. If that feels really manageable, you can run the arms alongside you. What I'm not interested in is any kind of collapse. So I'd rather that you use the blocks, find the length and strength in your torso. Let your collarbones smile, even here, even now, even if maybe you're not feeling quite so much of a smile during this long hold in our lunge. Bring your hands to the blocks or the base of your chair if you've lifted them. Step your left foot hip distance from your right, hands to your thighs. Inhale, lengthen a little bit more. Exhale, a little bit more, hinge at the hip. Firm through your belly, so trunk stability, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then stand in your mountain, feeling the effects of our trunk work already. Standing tall. A little spunk in our trunk. Chair pose, bend the knees, arms out to the side, V shape. Hands to your thighs, hinging at the hips. Inhale, a little bit more length into your spine. It's going to be handy for side 2 of our lunge. Keep this length and this strength. Hands to your blocks or the seat of your chair. Step your right foot back. Give yourself time to feel the spacing front and back and side to side. So you have a foundation where you can really work the strength and length of your trunk. The setup is key. Left hip dials back, right hip dials forward, and then you'll just play. It's like we're tinkering in our laboratory. Keep the low belly lifting, the length through the spine, we're not collapsing, and maybe float your hands off your blocks or get lighter with your hands on your blocks or lighter with your hands on the base of your chair. If it all feels like it's fine, there's no collapse or any pain anywhere, float the arms alongside you. So the challenge and the feelings, the rumblings of challenge are one thing. Any kind of pain is not something that we're signing up for in this practice. Come back to your breath. Feel the trunk stability. Smile the collarbones. You might even smile yourself just for a moment. Return your hands to your blocks or to the base of your chair, and then step your right foot hip distance from your left foot, hands to thighs. Inhale, grow longer. Exhale, a little bit more hinge at the hip. Firm through your belly, arms out to the side and thumbs to the sky. And then stand into your mountain. Feel the effects of our practice so far. Deep breathing, a deep connection to our core. A little spunk in our trunk. Inhale, arms out to the side, V shape overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands to thighs. Inhale, heart extend, so we're really feeling some length there. Use the base of your chair or your hands on your blocks. Step your left foot back. Lower the back knee to the ground. Now we're going to use our trunk work upright. You can use the folded blanket or folded towel underneath your knee here. Take your hands onto your right thigh. Give a little careful press, sort of like we did just a moment ago with our hands on both thighs when we got long. Low belly lifts. The core work that we did parallel to the ground is now upright. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Pause for a moment. Gaze at that bright horizon. Think of your mountain pose, even here, even now, ears over shoulders, over hips. Let the inhales grow you tall out the crown of your head, and the exhales remind you to support that with the spunk in your trunk. Hands to your blocks or to the base of your chair. Curl your back toes under, take your back knee off your mat, and then step left foot hip distance from right foot, hands to thighs. Inhale, a little bit more length. Exhale, a bit more fold at the hips. Firm through your belly, arms out to the side. Inhale, arms overhead. Stand into your mountain. Side two, inhale, arms out and up, V shape. Exhale, hinge at the hips, hands to the thighs. Inhale that length to your spine. And then either hands onto the base of your chair or hands onto your blocks. Step your right foot back carefully. Lower the back knee. Use your padding if that's helpful. Once you're situated, hands to the left thigh. Press a bit. Feel the low belly lift. Think ears over shoulders, over hips. Keep that integrity in the belly, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. And here we are, standing as a warrior. We want to make sure that the trunk stability is giving us freedom. So no shoulders into ears, no tension in the jaw, the neck, the throat. Keep breathing deeply. See if you can let the inhales and exhales maybe be through the nose. Last 2 moments here, standing tall. And then hands return to our blocks. Curl the back toes under, lift the back knee, and step your right foot hip distance from your left foot, hands to thighs. Inhale the heart forward. Exhale, a little bit more hinge into the hip. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then stand it into your mountain. Again, inhale, arms swoop out and up, V shape. Hands to thighs, hinge at the hips. Inhale, heart forward. Hands to the base of your chair or to your blocks. Step your left foot back and lower the back knee. And this time, straighten your front leg. That might mean that you kind of have to scooch it. Curl those toes back towards you. Be upright. So I'm using my blocks as an assist. You can also use the base of your chair. And you can either decide to keep using those for balance, left hand on your block or base of chair, or you can decide to hover the hand, even come upright. There's quite a bit of balance, but what I want you to find is the rotation, the twist. Those are side waist muscles called obliques. We want to strengthen them. Make sure you're breathing. Return your left hand to your block or base of chair. Your right hand to your block. Our transition's a little different. Bend your right knee, and bring your right knee to meet your left knee. Switch sides. Left foot forward. Straighten that left leg. Curl the toes back. Start to feel the strength and length in your torso, and add a twist. Right hand on your block or base of chair. Left arm up to the sky. And this is plenty, and maybe you even find that here you can work a little bit more of the rotation because you don't have to worry about the balance. Or if the balance is fun, then bring yourself upright and keep turning at the waist. Make sure you're breathing the whole time. One of these options is not better than the other. It's not that one is more advanced, but one might be better for you. And advanced yoga is you knowing you. 2 more breaths here. Now, if you were upright, return your right hand to your block or the base of your chair, your left hand to your block or the base of your chair, and then left knee meets right knee, and we'll move our blocks off to the side. You might still have your padding folded underneath your knees, hands and knees, trunk stability, once again key. Your shoulders are over your wrists. We're neither collapsed in the low back, nor are we arching or rounding. So we want to keep a neutral spine. Think of our mountain pose parallel to the ground. Extend your left leg back behind you, trunk stability. Optional, come onto your left fingertips. If things feel pretty balanced, left arm like you're shaking somebody's hand, tons of space between your left ear and your left arm. Return your left hand to your mat and your right knee to your mat. If you want a moment in child's pose, you can always sit back, take a little break, come back and join us. Like I said, you want to make sure that advanced yoga is you knowing you. With your shoulders over your wrists for side 2, extend your left leg off the ground and back behind you. Think of our trunk stability, our spunk in our trunk in our lunge, and let that be true here too. Optional, onto the right fingertips. If that feels balanced enough for you to continue to work the core, right arm reaches forward like you're shaking somebody's hand. Couple moments here. Come back to your breath. Push the ground away a lot with that hand so you're not collapsed into the shoulder. Feel the low belly lift. And then right hand down, left knee down, and all of us will take our child's pose for a moment. So child's pose, you can have your knees wider if that's helpful. You don't have to sit very far back. Some of us, the flexion or the bend in our knees doesn't really like it. So you can always just rest it here. Couple moments. This next pose to me is kind of the king or the queen of trunk stability work. Come onto your forearms. Let your knees be hip distance. For some of us, interlacing the hands can be helpful here. We're gonna step our knees back a little bit so that it's a plank on our forearms. I like my toes curled under. And I would prefer that your hips be slightly too high instead of too low, because I don't want it to be a collapse. Now, karate chop the ground with your forearms. Draw your belly in. Gaze at that front edge of your mat and make sure you're breathing the whole time. You can start to adventure, possibly, into the thought of briefly lifting your knees off your mat for a moment. This is what I mean about the king or the queen of your trunk work, right? And then bring your knees back onto your mat and ever so carefully lower your hips to your mat also. Uncurl your toes and allow it to become a Sphinx pose. There's a little tractioning of your elbows towards your body. Those smiling collarbones that we were talking about in our mountain pose and in our lunge are now smiling even more broadly than ever before. Keep your chin parallel to the ground so it's not a neck thing. Lower down enough that you can slide your hands next to your bottommost ribs. Now this is where you have to really tune in to that core and do this in one piece. We're coming to hands and knees, but it's lots of core work. So think about what just hugged into your body in the plank on your forearms. Come all the way up onto all fours and then into child's pose. From child's pose, move forward, bring your forearms onto your mat. Shimmy the knees back so that we're in plank on our forearms with the knees on the ground. Curl your toes under. Feel free to stay just like this. Possibly, knees come off the ground. Remember, our hips, if anything, are slightly too high, not collapsing to the ground. So you're not thinking about Sphinx yet. Bring your knees back onto the ground. Now you can think about Sphinx. Lower thighs, hips, and then uncurl the toes. Remember, our chin stays parallel to the ground. Lower down and slide your hands back. Now we're in one chunk, one piece. Hands and knees from the ground. Lots of core work there. And then slide it back into your child's pose for a moment. So we're kind of doing a little bit of what's called a vinyasa, and you and I will do a class in the future where I really explain vinyasa to you. Shift it forward, forearms down. We're constructing our plank on our forearms. This is our crescendo of core work for sure. Knees stay down, curl the toes under. This is plenty. If you want a little bit more spunk in the trunk, you might lift your knees off your mat, but spunk is not pain. And I want you to be very cautious of your lower back. Are you breathing? Bring your knees back to your mat. Let the thigh bones, the hips, and your belly come onto your mat. Sphinx, uncurl the toes. Keep lifting the low belly so this feels like a very long back bend. Remember, we're not in the neck. We're not pushing things too far because advanced yoga is you knowing you. Lower it down. Bring your hands next to your bottommost ribs. Remember, this is core work, so curl the toes under. Keep it in one piece. On all fours we are. Hands and knees. Pause for a moment and feel the core work just in this hands and knees pose. Push the ground away. Draw your belly in. One more time like we first began. Right leg back behind you off the ground. Maybe you can feel a little bit of that forearm plank in the mix. Come onto your left fingertips if you want to. You don't have to. Maybe left arm forward and we pause. So much core strength, so much spunk in the trunk. Left hand down. right knee down. If you'd like a child's pose in between, please take that child's pose in between. And then last side of these, draw your belly in, make sure that there's no collapse in the low back. Push the ground away so there's no collapse in the shoulder blades. Left leg extends back behind you. Your core is working overtime. Your trunk has never been so full of spunk. And then onto the right fingertips, maybe right arm can reach forward. You're shaking my hand now because this is the last of our core exercises. You're welcome. And then right hand down and left knee down. Child's pose for a moment. We'll lie down on our back, so you can just slide it out, roll over, place your feet hip distance on your mat. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your low belly. Send a little love to your core, to your trunk, and appreciate the rise and fall of your breath and the beating of your heart. All of these are core elements of our being. Take a hold of the sides of your mat. Shimmy your shoulder blades so that they're flat against the ground. With your feet hip distance, we're not going very high with this. You're going to carefully lift straight up with your hips. Think long and strong. This too is core work. We're working some of the muscles of the front, back, and side body. And then lower your hips back onto your mat. Step your feet as wide as your mat, and very carefully, with a cactus shape to your arms, let both knees drop over to the right. And pause. A little twist to release these hard-working core muscles before our final Shavasana meditation. Come back through center. Let both knees drop gently over to your left and pause. Come back to center. Your feet are as wide as your mat. If that easy, careful lift, holding the sides of your mat, gives you a little bit more room in your low back, you can do that gently, and then just let the knees fall in on each other and the feet be wide apart, shoulder blades on your back, and you can feel that against the ground. You can stay here for your final Shavasana meditation, or straighten the legs about as wide as your mat. Let your feet flop open. Close, maybe cover your eyes. Fall into the floor. I welcome you to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation as long as you'd like. If If you're ready to start to find your way back, bend your knees and place your feet on the ground if they're not there already. Roll carefully to either side. Use the strength of your arms to bring yourself to any comfortable seat. In yoga, we often end by saying namaste, which means the light in me salutes the light in you. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.